Is that sort of like sweet tea?
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading's in-person and virtual Sunday worship service. My name is Charlene Reynolds Santo. I'm a member of the worship arts team, and I use she and her pronouns. Whoever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are from, whatever your faith tradition, you are welcome here. All are welcome here as we gather to create an understanding, welcoming, and family-friendly community. Here we nurture and explore individual spirituality, work to build a strong, loving community, and to help heal our beautiful and broken world. If this is your first time with us, I would like to extend a special welcome to you. If you haven't already, please look at our webpage at uureading.org for more information about UUCR. Here you can learn about this beloved community and connect with our staff. Now, for those that are in the sanctuary this morning, please feel free to speak with either of us after the service if you have any questions. I would like to invite Ryan Sillers up to talk to us about an announcement for the pledge drive.
Good morning. Well, I'm Ryan Sillers from the Pledge Drive team, and we kicked off our annual Pledge Drive on Sunday, and I'm pleased to announce that we've already received nearly 20 pledges, totaling over $83,000. So we're off to a really great start. Yes, wonderful. I'm also happy to report that almost every pledge we've received has included an increase over last year. Thank you all for your generosity and helping us keep up with inflation. We've sent off our kickoff email to everyone last Monday, and it has links to our pledge drive information, including the brochure, our letter, and our FAQ, as well as the link to submit your pledge online. You can also find all of the pledge drive information on UUCR's website. You can just look for the Donate tab, and you can also find it links in the weekly newsletter that the church sends out. Now, in order to balance next year's budget, we need to raise $350,000 in pledges. So please submit your pledge and help us keep the momentum going. And if possible, please consider increasing your pledge by 10 or 20%. This will not only help us reach our goal, it will also help us for those who aren't in a position to make an increase at this time. And if you have any other questions, you can please see me or AJ after the church service at social hour. Thank you. And now I'd like to invite up Rebecca Higgins. She's going to share a little bit about what UUCR means to her and why she chooses to make a financial commitment. Thank you, Rebecca.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Higgins. My pronouns are she and hers. So I've been coming to this church since about 2004, 2005 timeframe. Some of you may have heard this origin story before, but it all began with us moving to Reading in 2003, and my husband Kevin and I would go for walks around the neighborhood when it was nice out, and we kept walking by this church on our route and seeing the signs, and it looked like a very welcoming place and nice from the outside, and we often said, maybe we should check that out sometime. So took us about a year, I think. One day we finally worked up the courage to attend a service, and walking through the doors for the first time, I remember trying to figure out, so what exactly do they believe here? It took us a little while to eventually come to realize the fact that UUs can believe in anything, everything, or nothing at all. And it was a bit different than what we were used to, but over time it all started to make sense, and that's what attracted us to this church and made us stay. Was the flexibility, the openness, kindness, welcoming spirit, and a strong sense of community, and of course, the great people. Many of you know we have two daughters, Kaylin and Erin, who are both teenagers now, who were brought up in this church. Both were dedicated here and have gone through the RE program, which has been truly wonderful and rewarding to witness their journeys. So when Ryan reached out to me the other day to see if I'd be willing to speak, of course, my first inclination was to say no, thank you. But because I hate public speaking, but I ended up saying yes, because Erin, who's here today, is currently going through coming of age program, which culminates with her getting up here herself, potentially, and saying her credo. So I said, if I am strongly encouraging her to do this, I should really put myself out there as well. So I just wanted to share one fond memory of, and really the greatest appreciation that I have for this church comes from when the girls were little. I was an overwhelmed, sleep-deprived mom, and I truly didn't know, I don't know how I would have gotten through it without the UUCR Moms Group, which was sort of a chalice circle for moms at the time. It was helpful to have moms and kids of all ages. We really supported one another. We deeply shared with one another. We had soup nights. We had a bunch of guest UUCR moms, including Chris Ritchie, whose service I attended yesterday. I loved hearing from Chris Ritchie, Ruth Goldberg, and many of the others who were at different places in their motherhood journey to hear their perspectives and wise advice. So those tough and tiring years are over now, and Kaylin's in college and Erin's in high school, who I picked up from a sleepover this morning. It's much easier nowadays compared to when they were younger. So when Mary Wallman Crow reached out to me a couple of years ago to ask if I would join the governing board as an at-large member, I said yes. With Sherry Cook as our president, I knew we were in great hands, and the church was already a great community, and we have so much potential. This church has provided a great deal to me and my family, and I felt like it was time for me to give back. So now I'm on the governing board, and I do whatever I can to help with both my time and my money. So please join me in opening your hearts, your hands, your wallets this pledge season. Get involved with this amazing community that's provided and continues to provide me with so much more than I feel like I give it. And as Forrest Gump said, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Rebecca. Please take a deep breath with me. Let us sit back and enjoy today's service.
Good morning. Congratulations on making it to church on time this morning. My name is Reverend Laura Solomon, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the minister here at UUCR, and it is a privilege to serve this community and the world with you. I invite you to take another breath. Allow yourself to arrive fully here this morning. Our opening words come from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? In these days, we find ourselves too often stuck with these questions on repeat. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? We grasp at signs and markers, articles of news and analysis, Facebook memes, and forwarded emails as if the new zodiac capable of forecasting all that life may yet bring our way. As if we could prepare, as if life had ever made any promise of making sense or turning out the way we'd thought, as if we are not also actors in this unfolding story. So for this hour, we gather to surrender to the mystery, to release ourselves from needing to know, the yearning to have it all figured out, and also the burden of believing we either have all the control or none. Here in our song and our silence, our stories and our sharing, we make space for a new breath, a new healing, a new possibility to take root. That is courage, forged in the fire of our coming together and felt in the spirit that comes alive in this act of faith. That we believe still, a new world is possible, that we are creating it already, here and now. Let us worship together. We light our flaming chalice at the beginning of our worship service as a time to enter ourselves into a spirit of love and connection. I'm going to invite whichever members of the White family would like to come up to light our chalice this morning. The White family purchased the topic for this sermon at last year's auction, and so they are our inspiration for today's topic. Thank you all for lighting our chalice this morning. Please join me in our chalice lighting words, which can be found on the laminated sheets in the backs of your pews. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. Each week we recite our children's affirmation as a reminder of the most important elements of who we are. Anybody who would like to come up and join me in our children's affirmation this morning, I invite you to come up and help us. Good morning. You always come next to me. I love it so much. We are Unitarian Universalists, the Church of the Open Mind, the Loving Heart, and the Helping Hands. Thank you all. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing our opening hymn, number 323, Break Not the Circle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly. I am the religious ed coordinator here. My pronouns are she, her. Come on up and hear a story if you'd like. I would love for some friends to come sit with Reverend Laura and I. Hey, thanks for joining us. Happy to see so many people here today. Well, the story that I have for you is about one of my favorite life forms on the planet. It's not an animal. It's not a person. Can you guess what it is? What? It's a plant. Specifically, it's a tree. And I'm happy we have this little clipping here in service today. The story is called Sustaining the Tree of Life, written by Reverend Lynn Gardner. Anybody want to practice a tree pose with me? Who can stand on one foot? Bring one foot to your leg and stand up nice and tall. Ooh, these are very good. Good balancing. Let's take a breath. Nice. Okay, you can sit. The tree stood in the middle of the village. Its trunk was so large that it took 6 people holding hands to reach around it. Can we reach out our hands? Whoa, it's so big. The roots were strong and wide, and its branches spread out over the village square, offering shelter from the rain or shade from the summer sun. Its fruit was juicy, sweet, and plentiful. The people of the village loved the tree. Children played beneath it and climbed its lowest branches. Young people knew that if you whispered your dreams to the tree, they were more likely to come true. People who proclaimed their love or friendship for one another beneath its branches found their relationships to be nourishing, and elders discovered that their sweetest memories could be counted on when they were near the great tree. The tree had been witness to so much, and when the breezes blew through the leaves, one could hear echoes of generations, laughter, conversations, dreams, prayers, and songs. Let's be the wind. Ready? Let's take a breath. Nice. Good wind. Animals loved the tree too. Rabbits lived in burrows under the roots, squirrels and monkeys lived in the branches, and bats and birds flew in to eat the abundant fruit. The tree seemed to buzz with life. One day, a traveling merchant arrived in the village. They rested in the shade and ate 2 pieces of the delicious fruit. This fruit is incredible. I would love to have some to sell in the next villages that I visit. Who owns this tree? No one owns this tree, replied a villager. If anything, we belong to it. Well then, if no one owns the tree, no one will mind if I pick the fruit, said the merchant and began to fill the basket. I mind, said the villager, and today I am the keeper of the tree. What do you mean, the keeper of the tree? We each take our turn being here with the tree. We could never own it. We are here as protectors, as sustainers. That's ridiculous. The tree doesn't need you. You could just take what you need, take what you want, and the tree will continue. But the villager could not be persuaded. This tree isn't like that. We don't come here to take from it, even though we receive much. We are keepers of the tree because this is where we are nourished. This is where some of our most precious memories are and where our people have dreamed. This is where we remember who we want to become. Well, said the merchant, you may think this tree is very special, but it still doesn't need you to sit with it. That's preposterous. Replied the villager, the tree itself may not need me, but what of others who come by? Just this morning, I sat with a person whose heart was heavy with worry. Had I not been here, they would have had to carry that weight alone. And this afternoon, a tired couple came by and they rested with me. They said they had been looking for a place like this. And then an elder came by and we watched the birds and branches together. And now you are here, and you were confused about what this tree is and how to be with it. Imagine if you had arrived and not found anyone here to talk with. You might have continued to think that everything you do is all about you. Luckily for you, my friend, I am here to let you know that when you care for the tree of life, it becomes about so much more than just you. The merchant sat for a while in the shade, thinking about these ideas that felt new and challenging. As the sun went down, he picked up his bag and headed out of town, whistling a song that he hadn't thought of in years. On his way, he shared a smile with each person he met, his heart feeling strangely light and joyful. And the people in the village, they continued to sustain the tree of life, to care for one another, and to share their gifts with grace and gratitude. May it be so for each of us. And what? Yeah. Chloe has a neighbor. Does she live near a tree? No. Well, does anyone have a comment about the story or a favorite part of the story? Hannah? Yeah, Hannah said she liked when the guy learned a lesson to care for the tree even though it's not a person. Yeah. What about you, Holly? Yeah. Yeah, Holly said she liked when the man persuaded him to not pick more apples or fruit from the tree. Exactly. Yeah, he learned something new. Do you have something? Yeah.
Well, she, well, she, well, she,
Or you could just tell me. What? Yeah. Chloe liked the part where he whistles a happy tune. He felt better, yeah. What do you think, Kaylee? Do you like something about the story? Yeah, she liked that part too, and he whistled a little song. Yeah. Yeah, everybody had good things to share. Something I love about the story is that the villagers treated the tree like it was part of their family. They didn't see the tree as something that people owned. They said, what did they say? If anything, we belong to it. I think about that with nature sometimes, and I think about that with other places we love, like our church, for example. We don't own the church, we belong to it. And that means we take care of it and this community in special ways. The tree doesn't have its own voice in the way that we have a voice, so the villagers took turn being its protectors. They understood that when they take care of the tree takes care of them. And the same is true of our church. When we take care of our church, the building, the community, it takes care of us. How many of you have ever had fun doing something at church or with people from church? You can raise your hand. Grown-ups too, yeah. Yeah. How many of you have also helped with something at church, like setting something up or putting something away? I bet many people have helped with those things. Yeah. Yes, we take care of the church, and it takes care of us. So I'm going to end with a little song, and my hope is maybe you can use this song as an offering next time you receive a gift from a tree, like shade or clean air. So if you would like to stand up and learn the song, I'm going to teach it to you. And it starts like this. I'll sing a line, and you sing it back. Trees grow tall in the heart of the forest. Okay, your turn. Trees grow tall in the heart of the forest, high in the sky, and the roots go down. High in the sky, and the roots go down to the deep, dark earth, to the deep, dark earth. And that's the whole song, just a little fun one. Let's sing it one more time, and let's be the big tall tree if you would like. Trees grow tall in the heart of the forest, high in the sky, and the roots go down to the deep, dark earth. Thanks for singing, everybody. It's time for religious ed classes.
We take time during our service to light our candles of community, peace, and justice. We light our red candle of community to signify our interconnection. Wherever you are in time or space, newcomer or longtime member, here in the sanctuary or joining us virtually, we light this candle holding you in love. Today, we particularly hold in our awareness Joyce Adamson. Joyce died yesterday morning, March 8th, at Salem Hospital. We hold Joyce, her husband David, and their children Glenn and Peter in our hearts. I invite you to speak aloud the name or names of people who are on your mind and heart this morning, that we might call them fully into this space. We light our blue candle of peace for all the places worldwide where people live with the threat of war and violence. I invite you to call to mind the people, the places to which you want to send peace. Gaza, Ukraine, here in our own country. May we allow our hearts to be stirred and moved to action. And we light our yellow candle of justice. We pray that all people everywhere live their lives in freedom, and that we will each do our part in our work for justice and liberation for all in our global community. We know we cannot do everything, but we can do something. May we allow our hearts to be stirred and moved to action. As we recommit ourselves to the work of love and justice, please voice your commitment by saying amen. Our prayer this morning comes from Jan Richardson. Now, more than ever, let us be the ones who will not turn away. Let us be the ones who will go farther into the wreck and deeper into the rubble. Let us be the ones who will enter into the places of devastation beyond belief and despair beyond our imagining. And let us listen for the spirit that brooded over the formless darkness, and let us look there again for the God who gathered up the chaos and began to create. Let us be the ones who will give ourselves to the work of making again and to the endless beginning of creation. Amen. If you have a joy or sorrow you would like to honor through lighting a silent candle, you are invited to come forward now.
Our reading comes from a 2017 essay by Erin Wathen titled, "The Church Does Not Need Volunteers." I know I am not the only one who cringes when someone sees me without kids in tow and asks if my husband is babysitting. Well, no, yes, he is at home with the kids tonight. But I don't think you can effectively say babysitting when it's your own dang children. I'd say we should call it parenting. I feel the same when people talk about volunteering at church. And yes, I know it's just a word, but it's the wrong word, and for a lot of reasons. If you ask a grandparent or an elder in your church, I'm pretty sure they will tell you they grew up in the church they grew up in, they were never asked to volunteer. Historically, the church has asked people to serve as deacons, as greeters, as Sunday school teachers, or on the property committee. Whatever the job, it was considered a service, a ministry. The language of volunteerism is pretty recent addition to the church lexicon. It has emerged with the megachurch of the last few decades and the culture in which small to moderate-sized churches replicate the language and practices of the larger churches. Volunteering is something you're asked to do right off the bat in these places, and it does get people engaged, which is great, and maybe they'll give you a flashy badge that says volunteer in big red letters or a bright t-shirt that says volunteer on the back. This identifies you as someone who can help, one who can answer questions and give directions or generally point you towards where the donuts are. And those are really good things. But I balk at the secular nature of what it means to volunteer. To volunteer means that you are an outside resource, stepping in to help an organization in need. Volunteering is what you do when we pick up trash at the park, build a house with Habitat, or help sort food at the local food pantry. Volunteering is what I do at my kids' school on Fridays. In other words, it is what you do at a place that's important to you, but not at a place that belongs to you. And I guess that's the important distinction to me. You can't volunteer at your own church in the same way you cannot babysit your own kids, because the church belongs to you in the same way your family does. It's your own place, your own people. So of course, you help take care of it. Of course, you do the yard work and make coffee and teach the kids and sing in the choir or whatever all else it is that you do for the home and for the people that you love. A volunteer, in most cases, is just visiting a flyby. Maybe it's a helpful flyby, but it's not the same thing as belonging to something. It's not the same as contributing to something bigger than you, something that's part of who you are. We cannot realistically extract this word from the life of the church. It's both a noun and a verb. And it's the one that just rolls off the tongue when we are asking people to come and do work, which in the church we are forever asking people to do. Still, I feel a strong nudge to challenge how we talk about that and think about the time and energy we spend in ministry. It's important to recognize those gifts for what they are, ministry. And I'm not sure the word volunteer does justice to the depths contained in the work people actually do in their churches. Call it servicing, call it discipleship, call it priesthood of believers or mission or ministry that we all share together. Now, admittedly, priesthood of believers does not look good on a t-shirt. And it doesn't invite visitors to ask you where the bathrooms are. But whatever we do, we should remember that we don't just belong to the church, it belongs to us. And we do not babysit that which is ours.
Somewhere far from nowhere, I grew both strong and tall, longing to become, but knowing not the path at all. But the footprints of the winter melted to fields of spring. One last embrace before I cross the threshold.
Oh. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, choir. Let's take a breath together. Thank you. Starting a worship service with a reading titled, "Your Church Does Not Need Volunteers," is a pretty risky thing, let me tell you. If you are on UUCR's email list and see the requests, the pleas really, coming through for volunteers on a regular basis, you might be surprised by my choice of reading today. In fact, when I told Melissa Martin, our Member and Volunteer Services Coordinator, the title of our reading, her eyes got really wide and she said, "I'm glad it's my Sunday off." But when I sent the article to Melissa, she responded immediately in all caps with, "I love this." Whew. I love the analogy the author uses of being asked if her husband is babysitting the kids. We don't call it babysitting when it is your own dang kid, she says. I'd say we could just call that parenting because we do not babysit that which is ours. We cannot volunteer in our own church just as much as we don't volunteer in our own family because it belongs to us. We do not babysit that which is ours. I was lucky enough to be introduced to this concept not through an article, but through a congregant who lived this way in my internship congregation. This congregant was one of those types who was seemingly everywhere, doing the things that needed doing. He was an electrician and offered his expertise to the church, but he also just knew where he was needed, and he showed up to do the things he could. My teaching pastor sent him a thank you note for something he had done for the church, and he was downright insulted. Like, had to have a conversation about, don't send me thank yous for doing what I should do to take care of this community. He didn't say it as concisely as the author, that we don't babysit that which is ours, but he said things like, it's just the way I was raised. You take care of things you care about, and you shouldn't be thanked for doing the things you should do. I think this congregant was unique in some ways. Like, I think both things can be true. You can both take care of something that you care about and be grateful to receive a thank you note. I think of the ways I knew to do my chores as a teenager, but it still meant something when my parents noticed I had done them without grumbling or done them before they asked. Gratitude is one of the ways we express care for those around us as we each feel our responsibility for the greater good. It is how we tell each other that we are seen and that our efforts matter. But much in the way that we don't babysit our own children and we don't volunteer in our own homes, what would we change if we believed we did not, we could not, volunteer in our own church because it is ours? What if we believed that caring for, providing ministry to the church, whatever that looks like, was simply what was asked of us as members of community? In this time, I think this notion is pretty unfamiliar to most of us. We think about giving back. We think about good stewardship. We think about the requirements of membership. But is it really giving back, or is it living according to the golden rule, that we do unto others as we would have them do unto us? We usher on Sunday mornings because we have been handed our order of service with a smile. We serve on a committee because we or someone we love were welcomed as a newcomer, or benefited or learned from one of the ministries of the church, or we or someone we loved learned or felt loved in religious education. We serve coffee at members' memorial services because we know that one day someone will do the same for us. We take care of our property because this place is our home and we take care of that which is ours. This is not transactional, but relational and deeply grounded in love. Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Fred Muir, wrote an essay titled From iChurch to Beloved Community. In this essay, Reverend Muir calls for a reimagining of church from a place focused on individual needs to a space that transcends individual needs and nurtures a sense of belonging, care, and collective responsibility. In fact, he says that if church is to survive, it is essential that we make this shift. He defines iChurch as in the I that's placed in the front of the names of Apple products. Some say the I means internet, he writes. Others explain that the I stands for individual. This is your personal piece of technology to be used for whatever purpose you want. We are the iChurch. For many, finding Unitarian Universalism, a religious community that values and encourages individualism, was a necessary and important shift. Fred Muir calls these errors, Fred Muir calls these three errors a trinity of errors. Can we all laugh for a moment at the very nerdy theology joke that it's a trinity of Unitarian errors? Muir states that in order for Unitarian Universalism to continue to exist and thrive, we need to address this trinity of errors. The first error is that we are being held by a persistent, pervasive, disturbing, and disruptive commitment to individualism. The second is that we cling to a Unitarian Universalist exceptionalism that is often insulting to others and undermines our good news. And the third, we refuse to acknowledge and treat our allergy to authority and power, though all the symptoms compromise a healthy future. Hence the need, he says, to move from iChurch to beloved community. Move from I to we, moving perhaps from babysitting our own children to parenting. Individualism is deep in American culture generally, and given our religious history, particularly the influence of American transcendentalism on our faith, this individualism is deeply ingrained in our Unitarian Universalist faith. Muir quotes Ralph Waldo Emerson, a leader in the Transcendentalist movement, as saying things like, "No law can be sacred to me but that of my nature," and "Trust thyself, every heart vibrates to that iron string." No wonder we have developed to deeply value individualism. Historian Conrad Wright goes as far as to say that Emersonian individualism, what Muir is calling the iChurch, has led to the disintegration of institutional religion, because one cannot build a church on Emerson's dicta that men are less together than they are alone, or that men descend to meet. When put that way, this seems obvious. Men are less together than they are alone is the opposite of beloved community, and yet that individualism is part of the fabric of our country and our faith. This was not Emerson's intention, of course, but Muir states that we, both Unitarian Universalists and Americans, took individuality and made it an ideology, made it a theology, and did a very bad job of making it polity. We went from individuality to individualism. I think that distinction is important. We went from individuality, the celebration of what makes a person unique, the thing that distinguishes a person or group from another, to individualism, the principle of being independent and self-reliant, and those are not the same thing. Individuality in community looks like being yourself, believing what is right for you, pursuing your own definition of truth. Individualism in community looks like remaining independent and self-reliant even while talking about interdependence. It looks like pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, not sharing what is happening in your life with the people in your community because of shame or because of a belief that you are not enough or because of a fear that there is not enough for you. Individuality in community is asserting your thoughts, speaking your mind, sharing your truth, even if it is different from those around you. Individuality looks like being the lone dissenting voice in a meeting. Individualism is thinking your lone dissenting voice is the only correct one. Individualism is not being able to find a middle way, not engaging in the relationality required of beloved community because you know what is best for you and therefore for others. Individuality looks like remembering that every person around you in this beloved community is also an individual and deserves to share their thoughts even when they are different from yours, even when they are different from the majority. Individualism feeds our belief that we are exceptional. We as Unitarian Universalists, we as Americans, we as individuals. Individuality means remembering that the goal is beloved community. It means remembering that what is best for me is not necessarily best for the whole. It means engaging in community to discern how to make that work for everyone. The term beloved community was originally coined by Josiah Royce and expanded on by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It speaks of the dream of an inclusive, interdependent society based on compassion, respect, love, responsibility, and shared power. I have said before, and I become increasingly convinced, as we move into this time of particular struggle and challenge in our country, that the church is our learning ground, our practice, to create the kind of community we want to create in the world. Reverend Muir talks about the fact that most UU churches identify as wanting to do more out there in the world, but few congregations believe that they have to change to become the model of what they are seeking, that they also must do the work of becoming the beloved community. We cannot create beloved community in the world from a position of I-church. We create beloved community in the world by creating beloved community in ourselves. We create it through practicing and living the deep work of covenant as antidote to individualism. We create it in moving from I to we in all of our decisions. Perhaps a decision is best for you. Individualism leads us to believe that if something is best for you, you also think it is best for the church. But who is the church? Is that decision best for our elders? Is it best for our young adults? Is it best for our parents, our children, our single people, those who are married? Is that decision best for those who are here now? For those who have been here for 60 years? For those who are visiting for the first time? For those who have not yet come through our doors? The world, the country, this church are all in a time where hard decisions are necessary. What would it look like to truly make decisions not just with our hypothetical beloved community in mind, but with our actual beloved community? How do we retain our individuality as individuals, as a congregation, as a denomination, but give up our individualism? What would it look like to make decisions that may not necessarily feel best for me, but are truly best for the we? It takes listening. It takes change, both personal and institutional. It takes being together in the beloved community through the good, the bad, the hard, the joyful, the ugly, and remembering that our care is for us, for all of us, not me and also everyone else, but for us. It's how we can best love that which is ours. Amen.
A simple yet powerful way for each of us to help heal the world is to learn about and support the good works of charitable organizations and become more involved in our community. Every Sunday, UUCR shares half the monies received in our collection plate to a nonprofit organization that shares our UU values. This month's Share the Plate recipient is UU Urban Ministry. The UU Urban Ministry is based at the former First Church in Roxbury. Its mission is to advance racial, social, and economic justice. This is done by providing workforce development programming for survivors of domestic violence, youth programs and internship opportunities, and arts and humanities programming that feature artists and historians of color. UUCR has a long history of supporting the UU ministry. Our members have taught ESL, tutored in the after-school program, conducted practice interviews with college-bound youth, and provided financial support. Our congregation exists and thrives through the gifts of those who call this place their spiritual home. If you're here with us in the sanctuary, you may put your gift in the collection plate as it goes by. Otherwise, you may make a gift online or send a check. Please give as generously as you are willing and able to our Share the Plate offering to support UU Urban Ministry and the mission of UUCR. Now, if this is your first time with us, please let the plate pass you by. Your presence is gift enough. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Molly Smith. I'm here with Angela Figueredo. We are 2 members serving on the Starlight Soiree Committee, and we are here to generate enthusiasm for the fact that the Starlight Soiree is this coming Saturday night, March 15th at 6 o'clock. And it is a very important fundraiser for the church, but I want to highlight that it is also the most fun fellowship activity of the entire year. I have been to many, and I have a blast every single time. So, as many of you know, the fellowship hall is decorated beautifully, kind of nightclub style. We have live music. We have delicious food, both savory and sweet. We have, what am I leaving out? An array of beverages. A silent auction, 2 long tables of fabulous goods. We have, what do we have? We have handbags, jewelry, note cards, pottery, something for every price point. And then the main event is our live auction. We have 2 highly talented and very funny auctioneers. Both here today. And so many excellent items. The booklet came to your email yesterday evening. Everything from, a vacation at a beautiful oceanfront home, group dinners hosted by some of our most talented congregational cooks, some amazing artwork, and happen to have a show and tell item. This, I think, is one of the most beautiful this year. My talented husband, George Marinakis, does the driftwood, and Liz Lovell, an outstanding potter, did the pottery, and they came together and made this gorgeous wall hanging. Picture now what wall of your house you want to have this on. We also have, as another example, an amazing table runner made by Suzanne Sullivan, talented quilter. And that's just the,
Tip of the iceberg.
tip of the iceberg, yes. So many more items. Don't miss it. The Starlight Soiree this coming Saturday. If you want to bid high and bid often, woohoo! If you want to come and just have a great time, that's fabulous too.
And in our congregational life this week, I'm filling in for Melissa Martin. On Monday, join Buddhist meditation at our church at 7:15 or on Zoom with our wonderful usher today, Ken. On Tuesday, consider joining us in Fellowship Hall for International Folk Dancing with Marcy Van Cleve, Director of Folk Arts at the Center of New England. Learn easy dances from around the world. No experience is necessary. Just a suggested donation of $10 to $15 per session to help cover the expenses. For more information, please contact Martha Moore or Tom Model. Tom and Martha, thank you for bringing this program to our community. On Tuesday evening, join Reverend Laura in Sawyer House to watch and discuss Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century. We will watch and discuss the first lesson, Do Not Obey in Advance. On Wednesday, our Liberal Ladies and Friends welcome UUCR members, AJ Heitkamp and Barbara Dwyer Heitkamp, as they give a presentation with photos from their trip to the civil rights sites in the American South last year. All are welcome. For next Sunday, join us for our 10 a.m. Community Chapel in Fellowship Hall in lieu of our regular worship service, where we will expand on our service from 2 weeks ago that included a reading on donuts versus croissants, or croissant. Thank you all for being a vital part of our congregational life. And now please rise in body and spirit, I've always wanted to say that, and join in our singing our closing hymn, number 354, We Laugh, We Cry, verses 1 and 4.
We need to feel the freedom just to have
join me in our chalice extinguishing words, which can be found on your laminated sheets. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May we move forward in beloved community with love and ownership, recognizing we are creating the space in which we want to exist in the world by leaving our individualism behind and leaning into our individuality, collective responsibility, and radical care. Amen.